I'm the most annoying guy on set because I'm saying, excuse me, you do realize that this should be happening and they wouldn't do that, and you haven't read this, that means this would be impossible. And everyone's just going, Henry, just shut up and do the thing. And I'm like, I don't want to do the thing because he wouldn't do it this way, and he can do this.
And you have a sense that you're going, is this really necessary?
Henry Cavill just did something no one saw coming. After months of silence, he reportedly confronted the creators of The Witcher right after the brand new Season 4 trailer completely bombed online.
Yeah. And that's where you start to get more uncomfortable and you're thinking, there's not a performance here.
Fans are furious, the internet is melting down, and Netflix is facing a nightmare it can't just PR its way out of. When that trailer dropped, people expected excitement. Instead, what they got felt like betrayal. The dislike bar started rising like wildfire. Tens of thousands of fans hitting thumbs down within hours. Comment sections turned into war zones filled with heartbreak, disbelief, and straight-up anger. But why? Because this wasn't just another season. This was the first real look at The Witcher without Henry Cavill, the man fans believe was Geralt of Rivia, and the second Liam Hemsworth appeared on screen, the tone online flipped instantly. Memes exploded. Hashtags like #NotMyGeralt and #BringBackCavill shot straight to the top of X trends. For years, fans begged Netflix to stay true to the books, to the lore, and to the tone Cavill fought for. And now, watching this new version unfold, it felt like the heart of the series had been ripped out. One top comment read, "This isn't The Witcher. It's a cosplay with a budget." And that was just the beginning. Because as the backlash grew, rumors started spreading. Rumors that Henry himself had seen the trailer, and that what he did next shook the entire fandom. But before we get to that, we need to understand what really caused this explosion, and why The Witcher 4 trailer became one of Netflix's most hated releases ever. When Netflix finally dropped The Witcher Season 4 trailer, fans expected damage control. After all, everyone already knew Henry Cavill was gone. The least they could do, people thought, was deliver something that proved the show could still survive without him. Instead, the trailer did the opposite. It looked polished, but lifeless. The tone felt off, the pacing weirdly slow, and the signature grit that made the first season iconic was replaced with something glossy and soulless. The first time Liam Hemsworth stepped out as Geralt, swinging the silver sword in slow motion, the comments flooded in within seconds. This feels like fan fiction. The YouTube dislike ratio turned savage. Within 24 hours, the video had racked up more dislikes than any other Witcher trailer in the franchise's history. Threads on Reddit were filled with fans posting side-by-side screenshots, Cavill's Geralt next to Liam's, and the differences were impossible to ignore. Cavill's version looked battle-worn, brooding, perfectly embodying the character's pain. Liam's came off, too clean, too Hollywood. Some fans tried to stay optimistic, saying maybe he just needs a chance, but others didn't hold back. One viral post read, "They turned The Witcher into a CW drama." Another said, "Geralt isn't supposed to look like he just left a shampoo commercial." Even longtime defenders of the show started questioning the creative direction. Why release a trailer that focused so little on story and so much on visuals? Why not address the elephant in the room, the absence of the man who carried the franchise? The backlash didn't stop there. Reaction channels tore it apart frame by frame. One popular YouTuber called it a masterclass in how to alienate your core fanbase. Fans pointed out that even the monster designs looked worse, less practical, more CGI heavy, losing the grounded realism that Cavill used to praise in interviews. By day 2, the dislike count passed 1 million. Netflix turned off the like-to-dislike ratio on some regional uploads. Still, screenshots spread everywhere. Proof of the digital revolt. Even mainstream outlets picked it up, calling it Netflix's biggest marketing misfire since Cowboy Bebop. But while fans were making memes and roasting the trailer, something else was happening behind the scenes. Insiders started whispering that Henry Cavill had privately seen the footage too, and that his reaction wasn't just disappointment, it was anger. Because according to those close to him, he believed the trailer proved exactly what he'd warned about before walking away. And that's where things started getting intense. Because if the internet was already on fire, Henry was about to pour gasoline on it. To understand why this trailer backlash hit so hard, you have to go back to why Henry Cavill left in the first place. For years, he wasn't just the face of The Witcher. He was its soul. He fought for authenticity, for accuracy to the novels, for respect toward Andrzej Sapkowski's world. Fans didn't just see him as an actor. They saw him as one of them, a gamer, a lore nerd, a guy who genuinely loved the Witcher universe. So when rumors surfaced that the writer's room was roasting the source material, it wasn't hard to connect the dots. Cavill reportedly clashed with producers over creative decisions, wanting Geralt to stay complex, stoic, and faithful to the books, while the writers pushed for lighter, Marvel-style humor and side plots that didn't exist in the canon. When he left, fans saw it as a betrayal, not by Henry, Henry, but by the people running the show. And now, watching the Season 4 trailer, all those old wounds reopen. Every slow-motion shot, every glossy close-up of Liam Hemsworth swinging that sword, it felt like proof that the creative team never listened. Fans weren't just mad that Henry was gone. They were furious because his exit had been justified. The show had lost its identity. Even the trailer's music choice, an upbeat cinematic score instead of the gritty folk tones that defined earlier seasons, became a symbol of what fans saw as corporate polish over character. Reddit threads blew up with comparisons between the new and old direction. One user summed it up perfectly. Cavill's Witcher was made for fans. This new one was made for algorithms. And the outrage didn't stop online. Cosplayers, lore YouTubers, and even gaming influencers who usually avoid drama began chiming in, saying they couldn't recognize the world they once loved. Fans who had spent years collecting merch were posting videos throwing it away. Others said they'd cancel their Netflix subscriptions once Season 4 dropped. That's the level of emotional connection Henry Cavill built with his audience, and the level of destruction the new trailer caused. For fans, this wasn't just a casting change. It was the loss of a world they felt invested in, the shattering of a story they trusted. And just when it seemed like the storm couldn't get any louder, reports started surfacing that Henry Cavill himself had seen what was happening. What he did next would take the chaos to another level entirely. Now here's the thing. As easy as it is to bash the trailer, a lot of people quietly admit something. This isn't really Liam Hemsworth's fault. He walked into a storm that was already raging. From the second Henry Cavill announced he was leaving, fans decided that anyone stepping into those boots would fail before they even swung a sword. And that's the impossible position Liam's in right now. He's a talented actor, sure. We've seen him hold his own in The Hunger Games and other projects, but The Witcher isn't just another fantasy role. Geralt isn't just about muscles and a scowl. It's a character built on nuance, years of trauma, loneliness, and moral complexity. Cavill understood that because he lived it. He studied the books, replayed the games, and even corrected the script when it strayed too far. So when fans saw Liam in that trailer, trying to embody that same energy, it just didn't connect. The voice sounded off, less gravelly, more forced. The movements felt rehearsed instead of instinctive. And the emotion that used to simmer behind Geralt's silence? Gone. Viewers described it like watching a really good cover band. Technically fine, but missing the soul of the original. Still, it's not all hate. A few people in the comments tried to give him credit, saying things like, he's not bad, he's just not Cavill. But those voices were drowned out by a wave of negativity. Fan pages started changing their banners to old Geralt photos, editing Liam's scenes into memes, and even cutting together what Season 4 could have been tribute videos featuring Henry. The worst part? The more Netflix tried to defend the decision, the more fans doubled down. When the official Witcher account posted behind-the-scenes clips praising Liam's fresh take, the replies section filled with sarcastic comments like, fresh take? More like fresh disaster. And you can tell Liam knows the pressure he's under. In interviews, he's been overly polite, constantly mentioning how honored he is to continue Henry's legacy. But that phrase alone, continue Henry's legacy, is the problem. Because to fans, Henry's legacy ended the moment he left the set. The entire internet seems to be watching Liam through a magnifying glass, waiting for him to slip, waiting to confirm what they already believed, that nobody can replace Henry Cavill as Geralt. And as the backlash grew louder, something deeper started happening. Fans stopped just criticizing the trailer. They started questioning Netflix's entire strategy. Why even move forward with a project so many people had already given up on? Why force a recast instead of ending on a high note? Those questions are what took the backlash from anger to rebellion. And that's exactly when the numbers started speaking louder than words. If you ever want to measure how bad a backlash really is, forget the opinions. Just look at the numbers. And the numbers for The Witcher Season 4 are savage. Within the first 24 hours, the official trailer pulled in millions of views. But that wasn't the good news Netflix hoped for. The dislike ratio was catastrophic. Screenshots circulated showing the dislike bar nearly overtaking the likes. On Reddit, fans joked that the dislikes are doing more monster hunting than Geralt ever did. By day 3, analytics sites were reporting that engagement had plummeted. Average watch time dropped sharply after the first 30 seconds. People weren't even finishing the trailer. They were clicking off midway through. That's the YouTube equivalent of a public boo. But it didn't stop there. Subreddit moderators had to lock multiple threads because the comment sections turned into full-on battlegrounds between loyal fans and those trying to defend the show. On X, hashtag #CancelWitcher4 started trending next to hashtag #BringBackCavill. That alone sent a shockwave through Netflix's marketing department. And it wasn't just social media outrage, it was translating into real-world impact. Netflix's teaser uploads for other shows suddenly saw lower engagement, with people spamming justice for Cavill under completely unrelated videos. Even the official Witcher Instagram lost thousands of followers in a single day. Influencers started taking sides too. Some called it a marketing disaster of epic proportions. Others accused Netflix of deliberately ignoring fan input just to prove a point. One popular entertainment journalist tweeted, "It's rare to see a studio fight its own audience this hard." To make things worse, fan-driven comparison edits of Henry's scenes versus Liam's were pulling millions of views, more than the actual Season 4 trailer itself. Those fan edits weren't just nostalgia, they were evidence. Evidence that people weren't ready to move on, no matter how much Netflix wanted them to. Petitions Petitions began circulating, gathering tens of thousands of signatures demanding either a reboot or a final Cavill cut. Some fans even said they'd rather see the show canceled entirely than continue in its new direction. And with every new petition, every angry post, the narrative kept shifting further away from excitement and closer to outrage. By the end of the week, the situation had gone beyond bad PR. It became cultural. People weren't just criticizing a trailer, they were defending what they believed The Witcher stood for. The numbers didn't just reflect disinterest, they reflected heartbreak. And just when the internet thought the fire couldn't burn any hotter, Henry Cavill himself finally stepped into the spotlight. And what he said next made it very clear this wasn't over. When the storm around The Witcher trailer reached its peak, everyone wondered one thing. What does Henry Cavill think about all this? For weeks, he stayed quiet. No interviews, no posts, nothing. But then, the silence broke. It started subtly. Fans noticed that Henry suddenly began trending on every platform again. Old clips from interviews resurfaced, where he'd said things like, "I'll always be faithful to the source material, no matter what." Those quotes hit harder now, like warnings ignored. And then came the rumor that Henry had privately reached out to The Witcher showrunners after seeing the backlash, confronting them directly about how far they'd strayed from the spirit of the story. According to a supposed insider post that spread like wildfire, Henry's tone wasn't angry, it was disappointed. He allegedly told them that what fans were reacting to wasn't just a new actor, but a loss of integrity, that the series had stopped respecting what made it special. Whether that conversation actually happened, no one knows for sure, but it didn't matter. The internet believed it. Suddenly, every outlet was running headlines like "Henry Cavill stands up to Netflix after Witcher 4 trailer disaster." Reddit threads exploded. YouTubers started dissecting every line from Henry's old interviews, treating them like secret messages. Fans called him the real Geralt, a hero both on screen and off, and Henry's own public appearances added fuel to the fire. During one press event for Warhammer 40K, when asked about The Witcher, he gave a small smile and said, "I'll always wish the best for the character, and for the fans who truly love him." It was polite, but the tone was ice cold. That one line was enough to send the fandom spiraling. Comments flooded in. That wasn't a wish, that was a warning. Behind the scenes, it said Netflix executives weren't happy. The rumor mill claimed that internal meetings were held to control the narrative and distance Henry from the chaos. But that only made things worse. The more they tried to silence the story, the louder it became. People weren't just defending Henry anymore. They were rallying behind him. He became a symbol of artistic integrity, of standing up to the corporate machine. Even those who'd never watched The Witcher started following the drama just to see what he'd do next. And if the confrontation rumors were true, Henry didn't have to yell or threaten anyone. He just had to speak the truth. And that was enough to shake an entire franchise. Because at this point, The Witcher wasn't just a show in trouble. It was a brand at war with its own creator's vision. And the scariest part for Netflix? That war was now playing out in real time, in front of millions of angry fans. But things were about to get even worse, because once the backlash reached the top, there was no turning back. After the rumored confrontation, the situation went from bad to catastrophic. Netflix had a full-blown crisis on its hands. Every post related to The Witcher, trailers, teasers, even harmless behind-the-scenes clips, was swarmed with angry comments. The algorithm, which usually boosts new releases, started working against them. YouTube's recommendation feed was filled with fan roasts, comparison edits, and videos titled "The Witcher is officially over." Insiders claimed that executives were re-evaluating marketing strategies, which was corporate talk for panicking. Some outlets even reported that early screenings for select media reviewers were quietly postponed, supposedly to adjust visual elements, though fans suspected something deeper. Meanwhile, Liam Hemsworth found himself caught in the crossfire. Every move he made was analyzed. If he smiled in an interview, people said he didn't take the backlash seriously. If he stayed quiet, they said he was hiding. No matter what he did, the internet twisted it. Some fans even started comparing this entire situation to Star Wars, where passionate audiences turned on the very studio that built their favorite universe. By mid-October, just weeks before the release, Netflix tried to pivot the conversation. They dropped a Behind the Legacy featurette, hoping nostalgia would calm the storm. But fans instantly flooded the comment section with clips of Henry Cavill's best moments. Captions like, "This is the real legacy." It was a PR disaster disguised as a tribute. Even the cast seemed uneasy. A few supporting actors liked posts defending Cavill, then quickly unliked them after fans noticed. The damage was irreversible. It wasn't just a backlash anymore. It was a movement. People weren't boycotting for attention. They were doing it out of principle. To them, The Witcher had betrayed its own soul, and the numbers reflected it. Merch sales dropped, pre-release buzz nosedived, and the trailer's view count plateaued far earlier than Netflix expected. Streaming analysts predicted a major dip in premiere week performance. Some even claimed The Witcher could go down as one of the most expensive PR disasters in Netflix history. But through all the chaos, one thing became crystal clear. Henry Cavill didn't need to come back to win. His silence, his rumored confrontation, and his unwavering connection to the fans turned him into the moral victor of the entire saga. Every headline, every meme, every hashtag somehow circled back to him. And for Netflix, that's the worst possible outcome. Because even if The Witcher Season 4 manages to survive its release, it will forever live in the shadow of the man who walked away, and the fandom that followed him out the door. But as the premiere date creeps closer, there's one question still haunting every corner of the internet. Can The Witcher ever recover from this? Or is this the moment a billion-dollar franchise finally meets its end? Not with a monster's roar, but with the sound of a million fans turning away? As the dust began to settle, one thing became painfully clear. The Witcher wasn't just facing bad press, it was facing an identity crisis. Behind closed doors, reports began surfacing that Netflix executives were in damage control mode. Some insiders claimed the streaming giant was already reworking the marketing plan for the release, shifting focus away from Liam Hemsworth entirely. Instead, they began promoting the world of The Witcher, monsters, landscapes, magic, anything that would draw attention away from the controversy. But fans weren't buying it. To them, the story of The Witcher wasn't about monsters or magic. It was about the man at the center of it all. And without Henry Cavill, that center was gone. The chemistry, the passion, the spark, all of it felt hollow. Even media coverage began turning against Netflix. Major outlets ran headlines like, "Can The Witcher survive without Cavill?" And fans turn on Netflix after franchise fallout. Analysts warned that The Witcher Season 4 might suffer the same fate as Cowboy Bebop or Resident Evil. Huge budgets, massive hype, and then instant cancellation. Meanwhile, Henry Cavill's career was only going up. His Warhammer 40K project was gaining traction, and fans were calling it the real fantasy series made by someone who actually cares. People started comparing Warhammer's early buzz to The Witcher's downfall, calling it poetic justice. The internet sentiment became clear. Henry Cavill didn't lose The Witcher. The Witcher lost Henry Cavill. And as if that wasn't enough, even people within the entertainment industry began chiming in. Writers, directors, and actors started praising Henry for standing up for creative integrity. A well-known showrunner tweeted, "Every franchise needs a Henry Cavill, someone who actually respects the material." It was subtle, but the meaning was clear. Hollywood was watching. By the second week of October, the backlash had reached a point of no return. The trailer's like-to-dislike ratio was still tanking. The comment sections were locked on several official uploads, and Netflix's PR team was refusing to answer direct questions about fan dissatisfaction. The Witcher fandom, once a united force of excitement, had split in two. Those who still planned to give Season 4 a chance, and those who vowed to never touch it again. And the worst part? That divide wasn't just online anymore. It had seeped into the real world. Conventions, fan meetups, cosplay groups. The community was fractured. The franchise had become a case study in what happens when studios underestimate their audience, when passion is replaced by profit. And the message was loud and clear. No matter how big your budget is, you can't buy loyalty. But what comes next for The Witcher and for Henry Cavill might just decide the future of fantasy storytelling itself. As The Witcher Season 4 approaches its October 30th release, one haunting truth remains. This isn't just a PR disaster. It's a warning. Fans once believed The Witcher was a story about destiny, about choices, loyalty, and the cost of straying from your path. But somewhere along the way, the creators stopped following their own. They replaced authenticity with algorithms, passion with performance, and heart with hype. And that's the tragedy fans can't forgive. Henry Cavill didn't just play Geralt, he embodied him. He lived that character, breathed that world, and fought for its integrity when nobody else would. And when he walked away, he didn't just leave a show, he left a message. That message has now echoed louder than any trailer, any marketing campaign, or any scripted apology could ever hope to drown out. Netflix still insists that Season 4 will surprise everyone. But at this point, fans aren't looking for surprises. They're looking for soul. They're looking for the reason they fell in love with The Witcher in the first place. And that reason to them left when Henry did. Still, the question remains, can redemption exist for a series that's already lost its heart? Maybe. But it won't come from damage control or expensive reshoots. It'll come from humility, from actually listening to the audience that built it, because no franchise survives when it forgets who it's made for. As for Henry Cavill, he's moved on. He's building new worlds, new legacies, and proving once again that respect for the fans isn't a weakness, it's a strength. And the irony? Even though he's no longer a Witcher, his shadow still looms over every frame of Season 4. Because at the end of the day, The Witcher was never just about slaying monsters. It was about fighting for something real, even when everyone else gave up. And that's exactly what Henry Cavill did. So when October 30th finally comes and the first episode drops, one thing is certain. Whether fans watch it out of curiosity or boycott it out of loyalty, they'll all be thinking the same thing. The Witcher without Henry Cavill isn't just missing its lead, it's missing its soul.